All right, so you've been seeing how real estate stocks are doing very well last few weeks and months and quarters. Not only that, every now and then we are looking at news flow coming in, either from NCR that a bunch of real estate volumes got absorbed in a single day, or from the south or even Mumbai. So we thought of getting you a discussion going on real estate with Sudhir Pai, who's joining us from Magicbricks, and they have come out with a report talking about housing sentiment index. It's a reflection of they have tried to measure a lot of other elements and factors into in a fashion it can be represented on an index, and the reading at India HSI, which they are calling it, at 149, indicating positive outlook. Sudhir, thank you so much for your time. Can you explain to us this reading at 149 and your positive outlook? What exactly is happening in real estate in your eyes?
First of all, thank you, Ajay, for having me on your show. See, a bit of context to what is HSI and why we launched it. When we speak to our buyers into how they've decided to buy a particular house, we gather that that decision is led largely by recommendations from friends and family, basis what they have gathered as the mood of the market, essentially a gut decision, right? But when we speak to our buyers, they also tell us that they wish they had more data on the basis of which they could make a more informed decision. So HSI, amongst other reports that we have been putting out, is an effort in that direction. Now, in response to what is HSI, I think the right way of looking at it is a good barometer of what we think is the mood of the buyer at a point of time, right? And the mood of the buyer we have computed by asking people a bunch of questions. For example, how do you expect your income to rise? Do you think prices will rise over the next 1 year? Is it a good time to invest in the market? So on and so forth. And a sum total of all of those responses is how the index has been computed. Now, the score ranges from 0 to 200. And a good way to look at it is if the score was 200, there are only bulls in the market. Everyone thinks the market is going to do well. If the score was 0, there are only bears in the market. And if the score is 100, which is the neutral point, there are as many bulls as there are bears in the market. Now, the survey has been done over a pretty large base. We've got about 4,500 respondents who have contributed to this. And like you mentioned, the score at this point of time is about 149 for the country. I think a good way to look at it is for every bear in the market, there are 2 bulls at this point of time. So I think it bodes well for the real estate market for the next year and a half.
Let's go a little more deeper into it, Sudhir. Within India, when you were constructing this HSI, you may have done your analysis on which regions are doing well, which cities are witnessing highest demand from the buyers, perhaps based on the improved economic prospects of that citizens out there. Talk to us a little more within in India what's happening.
Right. So the survey, of course, like I mentioned, is across 4,500 respondents, and they are cutting across cities, they're cutting across income ranges, they cut across different kinds of properties that people want to buy, so on and so forth. It's covered all in a report that we have put out publicly for everyone to see. But a gist of it is as follows. At a city-wise, Ahmedabad leads the index, right? It's the number 1 city with the most positive outlook for the next 12 months, followed by Calcutta, followed by Gurgaon, right? Let me also add this. While the average score is 149, across almost any cut, right, across all of these parameters that I mentioned, the lowest HSI we found is 130, which is still a pretty positive HSI outlook. And the highest was about 166. So a few more interesting things that stood out for us. First, HSI for under construction properties was high. In fact, it was higher than ready to move in properties. Now, during the COVID period, there was a strong preference of people for ready to move in properties. Under construction properties were shunned. I think the market has changed considerably for the better. Today, under construction properties sell out. In fact, a lot of project launches have sold out within a month or 2 of being launched. And I think it's reflecting in the mood of the buyer as well. So I think we're seeing under construction properties, the HSI is high. City-wise, I already shared with you. Another interesting gist is that the HSI is very high for properties which are greater than 3.5 crores, right? And properties in the 75 lakh to 1.5 crore range actually have the least HSI, right? The least HSI is still about 135, but properties which are greater than 3.5 crores have an HSI exceeding 150. One more interesting point is that we also ask people across different professions on what their mood is. And in the equity markets, you have this, you track promoter buying, right, as an indicator of what the person who's running the company is feeling about his own company. This is somewhat an analogy to that. So when we asked real estate professionals on what they think is the mood of the market or their mood into how the real estate market is going to play out, the HSI was 166, right? So I think it tells a lot that people who are within the industry, people who are running the show day in and day out, are possibly feeling the most optimistic right now.
What about the pricing? What kind of price points highest absorption is happening? Because the reason why I ask you is that pricing has been moving higher for some time now, and a lot of developers, listed ones we speak with, seem to be suggesting that mid to luxury pocket is doing the best, and also pure luxury is very high, but the volumes are lower. If you can give us some inputs, you may have spoken to your respondents on pricing and thoughts on pricing as well.
Yes, of course. And I think what you said is pretty accurate. See, compared to about 2.5, 3 years ago, when the average property price was listed at about 60 lakhs on the site, today the average value of the property listed has gone up to about 78 lakhs. So you can see there's a pretty sharp increase in the average property value that is getting sold. I think the 75 lakh to 1.5 crore range is still the biggest pocket, both in terms of demand as well as in terms of supply. Prices on an average over the last 1 year have gone up by 22%. And a lot of that price hike has happened because demand has grown, supply has also shrunk, right? So it's been a sharp price hike. And as far as the luxury market is concerned, of course, it's done exceptionally well, particularly in NCR, where properties in the greater than 3 to 5 crore range have had an exceptional run over the last 12 months. But you're right, the volume is much smaller. It's probably the fourth budget segment, with the largest being the 75 lakh to 1.5 crore range.
All right, Sudhir, we'll let you go on that one. Thanks so much for your inputs. Very interesting practice of putting everything into numbers and explaining it better. We will be keeping an eye out for this report and the readings from here on. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.